Hello, hello! Today I'm going to be playing some more Trapped in the Museum. See if I can't get a better outcome this time. If you haven't seen my previous video playing this game, I'll put the link to it in the description below, where I go more in depth about how the game works. But this time I'm just going to get right into it. Just like last time, we'll start at Stressful Semester, and we're going to be playing Jamie Douglas. So yeah, let's get into it. As a student at the City University, you've spent the last semester working hard to keep up with classes, maintain your grades, and pursue a few research projects of your own. You found some recreation by joining the fencing team, but as final exams approach, that group no longer meets. As the semester nears its end, you've been overwhelmed, finishing a paper on ancient Egyptian burial ceremonies and studying hard for a challenging final exam in classical Greek history and culture. Attempting to catch up on their own academic schedules, your professors have bombarded you with assignments and lectures, all crammed into these last weeks of the semester. When you're not sequestered in the City Museum's library conducting research, you're staying up late in your flat, reading and reviewing your notes. Mountains of books cover your desk, bed, and floor, from Homer's Iliad and Odyssey to various works of Wallace Budge on Egyptian hieroglyphics and religious practices. Your notes cover the entire room like a sandstorm of papers. The past few nights you've barely slept. You've either been up late studying or too worried about exams to sleep. Last night you finally succumbed while writing the conclusion to your research paper on ancient Egypt. You had spread the pages out across the desk to review them one last time, but at this late hour they just looked like some white desert with the daunting cliffs of textbooks and reference tomes rising on the horizon. As your head slumped closer and closer to the pages, the letters wavered like some sun-scorched mirage, turning from recognizable characters into the stiff shapes of Egyptian hieroglyphics. Your pen slipped from your fingers and floated to the floor, with your head resting on the desk. The lamp seemed like the sun setting on the edge of a vast desert. You wake with a start. A cold sweat covers your body. You shiver from the cool air around you and the cold, hard bed. In that drowsy fog that clouds your mind just after sleep, you don't recall crawling from your desk into bed. With all your recent sleep deprivation, you wonder if you can remember anything clearly. Perhaps you fell asleep in the museum library, but the librarians always wake you up and send you along at closing time. As your waking haze clears, you realize you can't possibly have fallen asleep and been locked in the library. You're wearing only your night clothes. You reach out with your hands and feel around in the darkness. Your bed is in fact some kind of stone slab with walls on all four sides. The pale blue aura of moonlight glows above you, illuminating the edge of these walls. Mustering your strength, you pull yourself up until you're sitting upright. In the dim light, you can just make out faces staring at you in stony silence, many towering above you. After a moment, you realize these faces belong to stone statues, upright coffins, and tomb paintings from the museum's Egyptian collection. You run your hands over your stone bed and suddenly realize you've been napping inside an open sarcophagus. I am going to pull myself out again and go to 8. You manage to pull yourself out of the sarcophagus. The stone gallery floor is cold on your bare feet. As you survey your surroundings, you realize you're in one of the main Egyptian galleries. Several statues of pharaohs stand guard along one wall, while coffins decorated with the stylized features of the deceased stare back at you from another wall. A large human-headed sphinx reclines near your sarcophagus. Glass display cases contain jewelry, amulets, and small artifacts. Tomb paintings adorn one wall, the stiff figures seeming like ghosts in the moonlight shining through the high windows. You often visited these exhibits during the day, but in the dead of night, with no other people here and the frosty moonlight bathing everything, it feels otherworldly. You begin to wonder if anyone else in this city is even alive. Roll your perception attribute to see if you notice anything out of the ordinary. Roll 3 dice and add them up and add 2 to the total. I got an 8. Plus 2. 10! Hey, that's nice! Go to 3. While examining your moonlit surroundings, you listen for any signs of activity. For a moment, you think you hear a faint, muffled scream coming from the museum lobby, but you're not sure if that's just a figment of your overactive imagination. You concentrate, hoping to hear the sound again. Instead, you notice something echoing down the corridor leading to the ancient Greek galleries. A low, creaking sound, like bending metal, followed by the hollow clank of metal against stone. It starts and stops several times. I think this time I am going to head to the lobby. Which will bring us to 1. You leave the Egyptian galleries under the gaze of ancient statues and tomb paintings. Your bare feet slap on the cold, hard stone floor as you walk. A few turns bring you to the museum lobby, a grand hall with a vaulted ceiling supported by immense Ionic columns. The nearby full moon stares in through tall windows in one wall, where the main entrance allows passage to the street outside. Nobody sits at the information desk or the coat check window. Arched doorways lead further into the museum's shadows to other exhibit galleries. Familiar double doors in one wall lead to the library, and a smaller door near the information desk is marked security. Both doors are closed. You see if you can escape through the main entrance. You try the doors to the library. You knock on the security door to see if the night watchman can help you. I think I'm going to knock on the security door. Go to 10. You begin walking faster toward the door marked security when you notice a faint light shining through the crack at the bottom of the door. Looks like the night watchman is in. He has keys to the front door and many other areas that are locked down at night. You politely knock on the door but receive no answer from inside. Turning the doorknob, you realize it's locked. From inside, you hear a faint gibbering, the jangling of keys, and some scuffling on the floor. Something is inside that office. Then, everything goes silent. Do I try bashing the door down with my shoulder? If I haven't done so already, I can continue investigating some means of escaping from the museum, the front door, or the library doors, or return to the Egyptian galleries. I'm gonna try bashing the door with my shoulder. Which will lead us to 6. You take a running start, turn to one side, and bash into the door with your shoulder. To see if you break down the door, roll your physique attribute. Roll 2 dice and add them up. Oof. 6. Go to 2. You slam your shoulder into the door to the night watchman's security office, but it doesn't budge. In fact, it hurts you more than it affects the door. For a moment, you lose 1 die from skill rolls, but you can regain that easily by taking a moment to rub your shoulder and rest. So clearly bashing this door in isn't going to work for me. I may be on the fencing team, but my physique is not the best. Well, let's try to go to the library doors. The library doors are number 7. The library doors stand closed before you. They're made from heavy wood. You jiggle the doorknob. Locked. On your previous visits, you noticed fixtures for an additional bar across the inside of these doors to prevent anyone from stealing any valuable and ancient manuscripts from the stacks. You give the doors a tentative push with your hand. They don't budge a bit. You'd need a small battering ram to bash through these doors. I've already tried to see if the night watchman can help me, so I'm going to try to go to the main entrance, which will take us to 4. As you approach the museum's main entrance, you quickly realize this won't offer you a way out. The doors are sealed with a key lock in the frame, as well as a padlocked chain through the handles. The door's sturdy metal frame and decorative metal rods and crossbeams would prevent you from squeezing through, even if you could break the thick glass. You peer up at the windows, but they're too high for you to reach, even if you found some furniture to climb. They, too, are made from thick glass, and the ornamental metalwork supporting them would not allow you to slip through and escape. I suppose I'll go knock on the security door again, taking us to 10. You begin walking faster toward the door marked security when you notice... Okay, so we did this one already. So we're going to have to go to the Egyptian galleries. So the door to security is still locked. We can hear stuff inside for a second, but then everything goes super quiet. So the Egyptian galleries are 15. You head back toward the Egyptian exhibits, frustrated that you may have to wait in the museum's darkness until morning. You pass beneath the watchful gaze of 2 colossal statues of pharaohs, flanking the entry arch to the exhibit hall. Suddenly you hear the sound of breaking glass coming from deep within the gallery. Do I run through the Egyptian galleries to see what's going on, or sneak around through the Greek galleries to cautiously approach the site of the breaking glass? I feel like Jamie's a pretty smart guy and wouldn't just run directly to the Egyptian galleries. I feel like he would think that that would cause a lot of attention. That was unnecessary. So we're going to sneak around through the Greek galleries. 26. You take a detour through the ancient Greek exhibit to approach the site of breaking glass. Moonlight filtering through windows and skylights illuminates pieces from the museum's collection. Columns and other architectural elements rescued from the temple ruins, bits of statuary mounted on podiums. A wall display of corroding short swords and glass cabinets filled with black and red figure vases and other ceramic items. Your feet pad along the cold stone floor as you pass various displays. You've almost reached the back entrance to the Egyptian galleries, and the area you thought the crashing glass sounds came from. When you bump into a statue someone's placed right in the middle of a walkway. Ooh. You don't recall anyone ever displaying a statue here. When you hit it, you notice it rings with the metallic sound of bronze. Looking up, you recognize it as the statue of a Spartan warrior. The soldier stands tall in its plumed helmet, one arm drawn back to throw its spear while the other points to some imaginary target. Its imposing stance often frightens little children. That's odd. This figure usually stands atop a 4-foot-high pedestal at the gallery entrance. Now it stands only on its bronze feet, balanced precariously on nothing but the floor. You're distracted by more sounds coming from the region of the broken glass, so you disregard the statue and head off toward the Egyptian galleries. When the sounds ahead seem closer, you stop short and take cover in the shadows beneath an archway to the mummy exhibit. Please go to 20. Peering out from the shadows beneath the archway, you watch as a strange scene unfolds before you. A ghostly figure stands illuminated in the moonlight, a young woman dressed in the gauzy linens and fine jewelry of an ancient Egyptian princess. The angry expression on her face does not diminish her beauty. She stands tall, pointing a menacing finger at several dark henchmen. These figures have gangly, hunched bodies. You strain to see their faces, but all you notice are red coals burning where their eyes should be, long pointy ears, and a toothy snout. The creatures scurry around a vitrine, a tall glass display case, used to protect several upright coffins. One intact glass panel stands open, apparently unsealed with some key. The clumsy creatures seem to have tipped an upright coffin over and through the display glass. One of the ancient Egyptian sarcophagi lies on the floor, evidently pushed through the now shattered glass panel in front of it. "Fools!" the princess barks, scowling. "If I wanted you to break the glass, I wouldn't have ordered you to steal the keys. Now take care and retrieve the coffin next to the one you nearly destroyed." Obeying the princess's commands, the creatures scurry and flap about, whining and snapping at each other while they maneuver the other sarcophagus out the vitrine. They place it on the floor before the princess, who kneels beside it praying in some eldritch language. When she rises again, she turns to her dark servants. "Remove the lid, carefully, and bring the mummy along. What are you gonna do?" "Do I look in the nearby exhibits for a suitable weapon with which to challenge these thieves, stay hidden in the shadows, and continue to watch, slip away in horror? I'm gonna look for a weapon, which will take us to 37. You slip away quietly and begin examining the various Egyptian galleries for some weapon you can use against the ghostly princess and her ghoulish assistants. It doesn't take you long to find a display case containing several bronze Kepesh swords, sickle-shaped blades about 3 feet long. They're in decent condition, so you carefully open the case and remove one. You heft the blade, making a few slashes and stabs with it to test its weight. This will do nicely. Now that you've found a weapon, you head back through the Egyptian galleries to track down the princess and her minions. Remember, in the future, you have a suitable weapon with which to make attacks, should you be forced to defend yourself or take measures against the museum intruders. Please go to 40. Keeping to the shadows, you watch in fascination as the Egyptian princess directs her beastly servitors. The creatures remove the casket lid, carefully lift the fragile and dusty mummy from its elaborately decorated case, and carry it off to another gallery. The princess leads them through the darkened halls to a familiar exhibit. She orders the beasts to lower the mummy into one giant stone sarcophagus, in which you woke up earlier. Once the mummy rests inside the massive coffin, the dog-like creatures back away while the princess steps to the head of the sarcophagus. Closing her eyes, she begins chanting words in an eldritch language, waving her hands gently as if casting some kind of spell. Her voice floats melodiously through the museum's galleries, echoing off the vaulted ceilings and creating multiple harmonies. "Do I try deciphering the words the princess intones? Slip away to find a hiding place until the bizarre occurrences stop. Remain hidden in the shadows and see what effects the spell has on the mummy. Or attack them." I'm not sure if I'm going to attack them or try to decipher the words. What if I'm going to attack them. The princess is clearly preoccupied with performing her ritual, so you could easily sneak up on her and attack with the Egyptian Kepesh sword you found in the museum exhibit. The dog-like creatures are spread out around the stone sarcophagus watching the princess. Whatever action you take, though, will arouse their attention. You sneak up behind the princess and attack her with the Kepesh sword. You attack one of the beastly servants and prepare to fend off the others. I feel like we should attack the princess, because if we just attack one of the servants, I don't feel like that'll do as much. Like, if the princess is gone, maybe the servants are no longer animated. 33. You slip up behind the princess and slash at her with the ancient sickle sword. You slice cleanly through her torso, the blade encountering barely any resistance. Her body dissolves into the moonlight. Instead of a heavy corpse falling to the stone floor, only her gauzy linen gown floats to the ground. As soon as the princess's chanting stops echoing through the galleries, her ghoulish servitors realize something is amiss. They turn their toothy snouts in your direction and focus their glowing red eyes on you. One after another leaps at you, fangs bared, clawed hands reaching for your throat. You must defend yourself with your ancient Kapesh sword. In combat, you use your melee combat skill of 4D plus 1. The Egyptian ghoul attacks you with his brawling skill of 3D plus 2. Each turn, you roll 4 dice for your skill and add 1. Then roll 3 dice and add 2 to represent the Egyptian ghoul's attack. Whoever rolls higher wins. The low roller loses 1 of his dice for the next turn's attack. For instance, if the fight's first turn rolled 15 and the ghoul rolled a 9, the ghoul attacks next turn with a brawling skill of only 2D plus 2. Keep rolling for your attack and the ghouls until one of you has no dice left. Okay. So, my skill is 4D plus 1. Ooh, I rolled really bad. I got 7 plus 1, so 8. And they're 3D plus 2. 5, 6, 7. So their plus 2 gives them 9. So I lose a die this time. I got a 14 plus 1, so 15. And they get 3D plus 2. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I win that one. I'm still at 3, and they'll be at 2 next time. 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 1, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, I've won by 1. That's nice. 10 plus 1. And they got a 4. So the beast lost all of its brawling dice. Go to 46. With a few slashes from your Kapesh sword, you dispatch one of the princess's ghoulish assistants. But you suddenly realize you face a horde of these creatures, all hunched and ready to leap at you. One launches itself through the air, claws outstretched for your throat. You ready your sickle sword to repel an imminent attack. The ghoul's body stops midair, impaled on the end of a long spear. You look to one side and see a bronze statue of an intimidating Spartan warrior that has somehow become animated. The soldier stands tall in his plumed helmet, both hands grasping its spear. It shakes the dead ghoul from its spear and turns to the other beasts. The statue lets loose a low growl that sounds like an ancient metal bending under a great weight. The creatures leap all at once, clawing at the bronze warrior and dodging thrusts and slashes from its spear. You scurry backward to avoid becoming an accidental target of the Spartan warrior's vigorous attacks. Without looking where you're going, your feet become entangled in the linen gown, the only remains of the ghostly princess you dispatched. You trip over the garment, fall backwards, and slam the back of your head against the stone-cold floor. As you drift off into unconsciousness, you see the ghouls attacking. You see the ghouls attacking the ominous form of the bronze Spartan warrior silhouetted in the moonlight. Please go to 56. You wake up fully dressed and slumped over your desk, the same position in which you dozed off late last night. Morning light streams through the window of your apartments. Sounds of the bustling city outside float through the open window, and a slight breeze rustles the papers scattered across your desk. You shake your head and attempt to dispel the cobwebs of sleep from your mind. As you go about your classes that morning, you try convincing yourself that the strange events you experienced last night were all part of some twisted nightmare, brought on by deep sleep and stress from the semester's activities. After attending your final classical Greek lecture, one of your classmates approaches you with that morning's paper. He shoves it into your hands and insists on hearing your opinion about the front page story. You only take a moment to read the headline and lead paragraph. Museum vandalism, murder. Thieves broke into the city museum last night, murdered the night watchman, and vandalized several exhibits in the ancient Egyptian galleries. Although several artifacts were damaged or destroyed, no objects were stolen from the museum. One of the more bizarre acts of vandalism included the removal of a mummy from its display case, an original coffin, and its placement in a massive stone sarcophagus. Officials could not explain the motives behind this vandalism or why the potential thieves left without taking any antiquities. Museum administrators would not elaborate on how the thieves entered the building. Your experience in the museum has reached an end. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad I learned more about what's happening in this adventure. I feel like I could play it at least one more time before I get the full story. So yeah, if you like this game, I will link it in the description below. If you play, I'd love to hear about your experience. You can put that in the comments if you would like. Thanks for watching, listening, however you consume your media, and I'll see you next time.